Welcome, everyone. Good morning to those who are gathered here in our sanctuary today and to all those who are joining online. We begin this morning with a musical prelude by Scott DeVoe. Thank you, Scott. It's always nice to have a great view of the keys up here to watch when he plays. So welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. My name is Angela Orbaugh, and my pronouns are she and her. I am pleased to be leading worship today with Reverend Leah Derlin Jones and Director of Music, Scott DeVoe. Whoever you are and wherever you have come from, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville welcomes you. We are delighted you have joined us this morning and are grateful for all of you who have made this moment of our gathering possible. I invite you to take a moment to greet others. Those online, you may unmute, and those here in the sanctuary and the social hall are welcome to greet your neighbors, especially those you may not know. We offer a special welcome to newcomers and invite you to join us after the service in the social hall. You can feel free to sit at the newcomers table, and that has a red tablecloth. You're also invited to use one of our red coffee mugs. And UUCville members and friends, you are reminded to offer anyone with a red mug a warm welcome to our congregation. There is a live stream of the service right now in the social hall. All are welcome here in the sanctuary, but if you need a roomier space, the social hall is a great option. Those on Zoom, you are also invited to stay online after the service for conversation. Many thanks to all of the people that make Sunday morning services possible. We have greeters, we have ushers, the hospitality team, the altar decorating team, our religious education leaders and volunteers, and our AV Tech wizard, Nash Ford. And now we have greetings from UUCville board member, John Griffith.
I'm John Griffith. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm bringing greetings from the board. And, to be honest, 2025 was a tough year for me. Probably a lot of people feel that same way. And yet over the holidays, I found myself doing something intentional instead of dwelling on the things that didn't work, really trying to think about the things that I was grateful for, what sustained me, what I wanted more of. And this community kept coming up in these reflections, and not in some abstract way, but in specifics. I was thinking about the people who get here early to set up for the coffee hour, the conversations that I have with people after the service, the chance to volunteer and feel like I belong to something bigger than myself. And one of the things I've been involved with is what we call the UU Parent Support Group, or OOPS, which, by the way, is next Sunday after church. And I learned something there that stuck with me, which is there's this part of your brain called the amygdala, and when you're frightened or angry, it kind of takes over and it prevents the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, from working and being able to reason properly. So I want to spend less time in my amygdala and more time in my prefrontal cortex by being more calm and more positive. So that's what I'm working on. And so that's my intention for 2026. And this community is a big piece of the way that I get there. Every time I come here and we sing together, sitting in silence together, connecting over coffee, it actually helps my nervous system settle down. And I have more capacity during the week then, because things will come up, but now I have more room in my cup, if that makes sense. So I don't know what this year will bring, but I am looking forward to going through it with all of you, and thank you for being here. Good morning, and blessed be.
Thank you, John. Here are this morning's announcements. We welcome Tom Larson this morning, whose art is gracing our sanctuary for the months of January and February. So Tom, could you please stand for us? Yeah. Welcome and thank you. And I have a quote I'd like to read by Tom. By using only traditional Buddhist imagery with a little creative flair, I am trying to be faithful to an ancient, timeless tradition whose purpose is to benefit all beings, free us from suffering, and awaken us to our deepest potential, our Buddha nature. Having Buddhist or any spiritual imagery around us will create positive impressions deep in our consciousness and can be a reminder to stop, reflect, and discover a refuge of spiritual protection, comfort, and inspiration. Tom, we are especially grateful to have your peaceful images around us right now. Now, you can meet Tom and talk with him after the service during our coffee hour in the social hall, and as an added bonus, his sister brought cookies for you to enjoy as part of his reception. Our UU Seaville Christian Fellowship will meet next Sunday after the service in the parlor. All are welcome to attend. We also have a special announcement today from Elizabeth Breeden this morning.
Good morning. Along with 8 other people, I am the key volunteer for Pacem, and we are in the throes of it. If you haven't been around and don't know what Pacem is, it is a series of churches who host people who have found themselves in a homeless situation. And we have the men for 2 weeks. We started on Tuesday, and we go to the 12th. All the slots in the Sign Up Genius are filled. Thank you very much, especially the Tori Goodlow, Chris Little family who signed up for 4 or 5 nights of serving. They are now totally skilled. And it's just amazing who shows up to serve, the kindness of the men who are pushed to live with 40 men in a very small space, only a chair between your bed and the next bed, share a bathroom with 40 men, which I wouldn't do. I'd just refuse. And so it is a remarkable experience of finding equanimity and peace in the world in a very stressed circumstance. So I thank you all for being the hosts for this, and wish that we continue to do it year after year if you missed it.
One last announcement. Volunteers are needed to take the decorations off of our beautiful church Christmas tree that we have been enjoying. So we'll need volunteers today after the service for that. Please stay and help if you are able, and we thank you in advance. Finally, please join us for coffee and conversation in our social hall following the service.
Our call to worship this morning comes from Linda Hart. It is entitled, "To Pause on the Journey." Every day is a new start. Every year, a beginning. Or so we'd like to believe. And we don't know, can't anticipate where we will go, what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will tear us open, the paths, unexpected, that open before us.
Even knowing that, we lean our lives in particular ways, focus on particular moments, incline our attention to what is in our hearts and lives and hands to offer. We know for sure that ours is the going, finding what is on the path and off, in giving and creating what we can.
We come here amidst the discoveries and delights, the worries and woes, to find a moment of connection, to pause on the journey in gratitude, sorrow, and with hope. It is good to be together.
I now invite the Bushy Beamer family to light our flaming chalice. Will you please join in saying our chalice lighting words? We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. You can also join me in the hand motions. Our hand is the matchbook, our finger is the match. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the Church of Open Minds. This is the Church of Helping Hands. This is the Church of Loving Hearts. Please rise in body or spirit and let us join in singing hymn number 1051 from the Teal hymnal, We Are. The words will be projected on the screen.
And I invite our young people, those young at heart, those young in age, those young in body, mind, and spirit to come forward. Yes, anybody who wants to is welcome to come forward and join me up here on our red rug. So I have some questions for you, actually for all of us this morning. And my question is, do you like to go on adventures? Raise your hand. Who here likes to go on adventures? Oh, it looks like everybody up here in the front and a few hands in the back. So what do you think I mean when I ask that question? What do you consider an adventure? What's an adventure? Anybody? A hike? Yeah. What else? When you do something different. Yeah, I heard a voice back here. Someplace that you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, and I heard a museum, I think. Yeah. Something scary. Yeah. A safari park? Yeah. So there are all different kinds of ways to think about what an adventure might be. And something that might feel like an adventure to me might not feel like an adventure to you. Kind of depends on what you're used to, what you've experienced, what's interesting to you. But if you're thinking about going on an adventure, what are some of the things you'd want to have with you? Or what do you think you might need to help you find your way? Snacks. Snacks are a very nice thing to have when you're going on an adventure. I agree. Exactly, Eliza. Good snacks. Snacks are important. What else? Kasha? Water. Yeah. What else? Oh, I heard it over here. A map. Yeah. Sometimes it might be nice to have a map. Any particular kind of map? For the area you want to explore. What were some other things? A current one. Yeah. Well, there are lots of ways to think about what makes a map. And as we think about starting this new year and the adventures that might be before us, it might be interesting to think about the different types of maps or resources available to us. So I want to share a little video with you about a man who is helping me and maybe you think a little bit differently about what might make a map or what tools might we have or use to help us find our way. So Nash, will you show that first video?
Look up into the sky, day or night, and you'll find lots of clues and signs to help you find your way in the natural world. The relationship between rainbows and the sun offers us a brilliant natural compass. If we imagine a rainbow as a full circle, the center of that circle will always be directly opposite the sun. So, if we're using the sun to navigate, a rainbow gives us a colorful way of knowing where the sun is, even if we can't see it. Another handy tip about rainbows: the more vibrant red we see, the bigger the raindrops. There are certain clouds we can all learn to spot that are particularly useful to a natural navigator. White fluffy clouds that scoot across a blue sky signify a fine day for getting outside, but tall clouds are a sign the weather is getting more unsettled and change is on the way. Look at the tops of the clouds. If the surface appears soft and rounded like a cauliflower, it's safe to stay outside. If the top turns wispy, like candy floss, it could be turning into a storm cloud, and it's probably a good time to seek shelter. On a clear night in the Northern Hemisphere, there's a simple method for finding the North Star. Find the group of 7 bright stars that form the familiar shape of the Plough or Big Dipper, then identify the 2 pointer stars on the outer edge of the constellation. Now, visually gauge the distance between the 2 stars and look along a straight line 5 times that distance. The star on its own in that part of the sky is Polaris, the North Star. The point on the horizon directly below that star is due north.
Like rainbows to help us find our way, to know what direction we're going. Did you know that when there's a lot of red in a rainbow, it means that the water particles are larger? I didn't know that either. And then clouds, paying attention to the clouds and what information that they're giving to us. And how many of you like to look at the night sky and use that as a way to kind of orient yourself? Yeah. So would you call those things a map? Sure, maybe, yes, could be. It's different from what we think of as a map. So the man who was speaking is actually named Tristan Gooley. And here he is again, but he's going to be out in the woods with us now, showing us some other ways to use our natural world as a map. You ready for that one, Nas?
Hi.
Yeah.
Every single plant and animal is trying to make a map for us. The good news is, with the trees, the map and the signs are pretty big. We can quite often see them from a long distance. Just behind me here, we've got a mix, but plenty of birch trees. And birch trees are a sign that I've reached the edge of the woodland. But just behind me here, you can see some fantastic color. I'm just going to get a bit closer. And on this birch tree here, this really, really rich, rusty orange color is the algae Trentopolia. And it hates surfaces in direct sunlight. It doesn't like places that dry in the sun. So we tend to find it on the north side of trees. The birch tree is giving us the map. We're at the edge of the woods. The algae on it is giving us the compass. This way is north. Enjoy.
Using trees to tell you, a type of tree to tell you where you are in position in the forest, and then reading the tree, reading the moss on the tree to help you know which direction is north. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. So I wanted to share that with you all this morning as we think about the adventures that await us in the coming year and what we can pay attention to guide us on our way. It might be different than our GPS. It might be different than a paper map. It might be using our senses and paying attention to what we're encountering in the natural world. And maybe with our snacks and that, we'll have a good adventure. So thank you all for listening so well. Before you all head back to your seats, I'm going to ask you to help me pass out these baskets of pens and little slips of very special paper to everybody in the sanctuary. So everybody needs to get a little piece of paper, and you can use anything to write on it, and I'll give you instructions in a minute about what you're going to write. So as you're heading back to your seats, if you'd help the ushers pass out our baskets, that would be great. Thank you all for listening so well. So as our children do return to their seats and assist us in distributing this basket of special paper and pens, I want you all to know that the papers will be part of our New Year ritual that we are going to have later in the service. So when you receive a slip of paper, and you might need to share the pens with your neighbor, you're invited to write or draw on the paper whatever it is that you would like to let go of or release from this past year. So writing down what you would like to let go of or release from this past year. And then later in our ritual, you'll be invited to add your paper to a shared bowl of water from last fall's water communion service. And the water will receive your paper. The paper is environmentally clean and biodegradable. It will dissolve and symbolically take what you are releasing with it. So the instructions again are to write on your paper, write or draw, whatever it is that you would like to let go of or release from this past year. And then later we'll be adding them to this shared bowl of water from our water communion service, and they will be dissolved. So let us now enter into a time of centering with words from Beth Mulholland entitled Carry Each Other into the New Year. In this new year, may we leave behind the weight of unfulfilled resolutions, unrealized dreams, of unrealistic expectations. May we unpack the heavy weights of stories that tell us we are unworthy and unlovable. May we remember that we each carry inside of us a spark of the divine. In this new year, may we carry kindness and gentleness and hope that holds us through even the hardest days and the most daunting risks. May we carry the weight of memory that reminds us of who we are, and the weight of spirit that reminds us we are still becoming. May we carry the seed of knowledge that teaches us that improvement and growth aren't linear and individualistic, but are cyclical and communal. May we carry the wisdom to seek rest and connection, to lean in to mutual care. May we carry the certain belief that when we have patterns of thinking and behaving that harm ourselves and others, we can seek resources that will help us move toward healing. May we carry the knowledge that happiness and success take many shapes, and one of those shapes is purpose. May we carry purpose lightly, trusting that it changes and evolves and surprises us. May we carry curiosity and wonder and the ability to be surprised. This year, may we carry space for all of our flaws, all of our longings, all of our love, remembering that the truly daring adventure of life is not to be better, better, best, but to show up wholly, authentically, lovingly as ourselves. May we carry these prayers and carry each other into the new year. We are an interconnected community that cares for one another, and part of how we embody this care is by making time each week to share the joys and the sorrows that we hold in our hearts. Here are the joys and sorrows that were submitted prior to this morning's service. In response to actions of our country's current administration, the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations released a statement yesterday which reads in part, quote, "As the current administration continues to consolidate power, violate domestic and international law, and trample the human rights of people both in the U.S. and abroad, we pray for the safety of all in harm's way. The people of Venezuela have the right, as all people do, to safety and self-determination. We urge our elected leaders and the courts to exercise definitive moral leadership to swiftly curtail these abuses of power and prevent this administration from causing further loss of life and violations of international law. As we raise our voices and pledge our active solidarity along with all people of faith and conscience who will, in coming days and weeks, put values into action in pursuit of peace, justice, and freedom for all of our neighbors at home and around the world." End quote. May we here at UU Seaville add our voices and actions in solidarity with those of our UU siblings, leadership, and others seeking peace, justice, and freedom. Ellen Longmore from our pastoral care team will be available for a few minutes after the service in this back corner of the sanctuary if anyone is in need of support or just would like a listening ear. Those online can contact the pastoral care team at pastoral@uusharlottesville.org. Later in our service, we will include our ritual for joys and sorrows in our ritual for the new year. So now let us join our voices in singing our meditation hymn, a new hymn for us from our virtual hymnal entitled Coming Home. We will sing it through 3 times. Please remain seated.
This community offers its love and support to what is closest to our hearts. Another way we show our care for one another is in sharing our financial gifts with our community and our congregation. Our social action collection for the month of January is Impact. Impact's mission is to empower the faith communities of Greater Charlottesville and Albemarle County to create significant social change through unified direct action. UUCville is one of the 27 member congregations working together for affordable housing, to reduce transit wait times, and to address and mitigate other justice issues directly affecting members of the Greater Charlottesville community. Your generosity allows Impact to continue advocating for and addressing the needs of the most oppressed and marginalized in our community. In addition to giving online, if you would like to give today with cash or check, please use the Social Action Collection envelopes here in the sanctuary and place your offering in the collection plate. Now, please make sure to make your checks out to UU Congregation of Charlottesville and write Social Action Collection or Impact in the memo line. Along with our social action collection, we invite everyone to financially support the ministries and mission of this community. Through your pledges and the weekly Sunday morning offering together, our financial gifts support UUCville and enable us to put our love into action. This is our shared ministry. Now, during the music that follows, you can offer your financial support by using the text address or going to our website. You may place cash and checks in the collection plate as they are passed. Let us now dedicate all of the many gifts we share with one another by saying, "We accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good." Our reading this morning is a poem written by Reverend Len Unger titled The Path. Life, as the saying goes, is a journey. And who would argue with that? We've all experienced the surprising turns, the nearly impassable swamp, the meadow of flowers that turned out to be not quite so blissful and benign as we first thought. The crest of the hill where the road smoothed out and sloped toward home. Our job, we say, is to remain faithful to the path before us, which is an assumption as common as it is absurd. Really? Look ahead. What do you see? If there is a path marked out in front of you, it was almost certainly laid down for someone else. The path only unfolds behind us, our steps themselves laying down the road. You can look back and see the signpost, the ones you followed and the ones you missed. But there are no markers for what lies ahead. You can tell the story of how you forded the stream or got lost on the shortcut that wasn't, how you trekked your way to courage or a heart. But all of that comes after the fact. There is no road ahead. There is only walking, the tales we weave of our adventures, and the songs we sing to call our companions on.
So, here we are in our first worship service in 2026. It is good to be together in multi-generational community and to gather again to center our deepest and most cherished values. Our call to worship this morning began, every day is a new start. Every year a beginning, or so we'd like to believe. And we don't know, can't anticipate where we will go, what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will tear us open. The paths unexpected that open before us. No matter what is going on in the wider world or in my own life, I do like to think of the new year as a start, a beginning. There's something poignant about all of us, at least everyone following the Gregorian calendar, starting a new year together. As New Year's greetings and celebrations flow around the world and across time zones, I'm reminded of our interconnection with the human family around the globe and across languages and cultures. The start of the new year is a threshold through which we all must pass. And thresholds are significant. They can mark particular points in time. As the calendar page turns, we move from one part of life into another, with all its promise and its peril. In the new year, we will face new and unanticipated opportunities as we continue navigating our lives and our responsibilities. We bring our whole selves across this threshold with us. Our beautiful, hurting, messy, loving selves, and all that has brought us to this point in our lives. Touch points like New Year's Day help me stay grounded in the circle and the cycle of the year, in the circle and the cycle of our lives. Like New Year's Day, the days marking the changing of the seasons, our equinoxes and solstices, our holidays and celebrations, the days of remembrance. They help keep me in rhythm with the cycles around me and within me. These points in the year serve as opportunities and invitations to pause, to pay attention, to tune in, to be aware. These points in our year serve as seasonal markers and metaphorical locations on our own personal maps. They can be navigational tools for life, much like the guidance Tristan Gooley explained earlier in our service in the videos that we watched, where he is tuned in to his senses and his surroundings. I'm in awe of how Mr. Gooley mindfully uses all of his senses to take in the information around him, the locations and the colors of the moss, the ways that trees and shrubs are growing, patterns that he observes in the soil and in the sky, the behaviors of the animal life around him. Noticing and knowing how to make sense of all this information helps him find his way. It helps him navigate through life. And I love how he teaches and shares these skills with us, anyone who wants to learn. And he helps us to find our way back to ancient knowledge carried by our ancestors and the indigenous people around the globe. As we anticipate the coming year, it is important to reflect on the past year and to look back with curiosity about our individual and our collective journeys. As Lynn Unger's poem, The Path, that Angela read so beautifully says, quote, "The path unfolds behind us, our steps themselves laying down the road. You can look back and see the signposts, the ones you followed and the ones you missed." End quote. So think with me for a minute. When you look back on the last year of your life, what do you see? What does the path that you have traveled look like from here? Were there unexpected curves and turns? What surprised you in your own life in the last year? The poem speaks of nearly impassable swamps and meadows of flowers that turned out not quite so blissful and benign. What challenges did you face? What were your swamps? And where did grace show up? For surely it did. What or who nourished and sustained you? And what about that crest on the hill where the road smoothed out and sloped toward home? Was this part of your journey too? Or maybe you haven't reached that part of your path quite yet. As we reflect on the past year, and I hope that you will take time later today or sometime soon to really create the space for deeper reflection, I invite us all to also spend time feeling into and clarifying how we want to engage with our one precious life in the coming year. Who do you want to be in 2026? How do you want to show up? I invite these questions knowing that much in our lives is out of our control, and the times we are living in are frightening and hard. There are cruel and dangerous people in leadership and power who are making choices we don't agree with or support. And yet, we have hope in newly elected leadership, and that our leaders will demand change. And we have choices as individuals and communities. We have agency. We each have our own circle of control in our lives. And it can be helpful to remember this in times of despair. We do have opportunities to live our lives every day in how we behave and show up by living our shared Unitarian Universalist values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interconnectedness, and generosity, with love at the center. We can use our UU values as a foundation for our moral compass. I want to be clear that when we pause at life's thresholds, like the new year, it is crucial to make space, to hold space, to name what is joyful and life-giving and what is challenging and hard and scary. The world is full of both and more. What is going on around us, the exploitation and depletion of our earth, the inhumane treatment of our fellow humans, the suffering perpetuated by greed and narcissism and ignorance, the acts of terror and violence. These are an affront to all of us and to life itself. We cannot pretend otherwise. And as we've said before, and we'll keep reminding ourselves, joy is an act of resistance. In staying true to beauty and love, the beauty and love that is around and surrounds us is essential. It is essential to our health, our wholeness, and our very survival. So what might be good counsel as we cross the threshold of this new year together? One thing worth remembering is that you are forging your own path. Yet this doesn't mean you have to go it alone. Find your guides and your mentors. Find your companions. Your guides and mentors might be real people or animals or books or music or nature or something else that calls to you. Your guides and mentors and companions can help you along your way, but the path that you are forging is yours. It is also helpful to remember to use all of your resources. I watched a friend once helping her grandchild with her homework. The grandchild was stumped and frustrated with the assignment to the point of being ready just to give up. My friend encouraged her granddaughter to think smart. She said to her, "Use all your resources." And when the girl paused and reflected on her resources, she came up with a new way forward by using a tool she'd forgotten was available to her. The reminder to use all your resources is terrific advice for us all. Yes, let's remember to use all of our resources and to use them wisely. It's also helpful to identify our navigational systems. As we each assess our resources for our own life's journey, it's important to think about our path and what maps we want to use as our guides. As natural navigator Tristan Gooley reminds us, we all have access to much more information and wisdom than we usually think. And we can use more than one navigational tool at a time. Will your map system include the stars or the cycles of the moon? Will you make use of paper maps or directions given to you by a trusted friend? Maybe you'll use your GPS or your Google Earth. Maybe you'll use all of the above and more. And if the navigational system you are using isn't working for you, then remember your agency. You can choose a different tool, or tweak your system, or try a new way. In December, when I was Christmas shopping at New Dominion Bookstore, Tristan Gooley's latest book, The Hidden Seasons, A Calendar of Nature's Clues, jumped into my hands. In it, Mr. Gooley takes readers through a year-long cycle, teaching us about the hidden microseasons within each day. Microseasons within each day. My practice will be to read a bit from the book each night before bed, to help me be more deeply in touch with what is going on in the natural world around me and my place in it. In reading these first few nights of January, I've learned more about shooting stars, the law of two sounds, and marcescent chatter. I'm excited for a new year of learning. We are together on the threshold of a new year. How have or how will you honor it? How did or how will you mark it? How will you navigate it? Some of us gathered here at church on January 1st for a New Year's Day retreat. It has become an important part of my New Year's Day observance to walk a labyrinth. In addition to our outdoor labyrinth behind our church building, our congregation has several indoor labyrinths of different sizes that we lay out for walking at various times throughout the year. Last Thursday, we used our versatile labyrinth, a labyrinth in the Santa Rosa design that fits in Lower Hall Room 2. I was grateful to walk it with others and to have time for journaling and reflection. Walking the labyrinth is just one of many ways to mark the new year, and here are a few others. Perhaps they are part of what you do, or maybe you'd like to give them a try. Some people make New Year's resolutions. This can be a helpful way to reflect and assess and consider changes in behavior or put goals into words and actions. Because they can be hard to keep, New Year's resolutions get a bad rap. But they are simply a tool, a resource, a way to help us stay on the path that we are making. If we're serious about our New Year's resolutions, we might need to put supports in place to help us be successful, like accountability partners. It can be nice to have others cheering for us as we work towards our goal, or to help us be realistic and real and kind with ourselves when we don't. Some people choose a new word for themselves each year. Examples of words might be courage, or compassion, or trust. You get the idea. The word becomes a touchstone, something to remind us of a quality we want to cultivate, or a way we want to offer ourselves daily encouragement. I see value in both New Year's resolutions and yearly words as ways to help us navigate and grow into how we want to be in the world. But this year I learned about another way, new to me, to mark the crossing of the New Year threshold. In an episode of On Being with Krista Tippett entitled Living the Questions, Tippett reflects on going beyond resolutions or yearly words to find a question to ask ourselves throughout the year or longer. Her inspiration for this idea comes from the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke in a passage from his letters to a young poet in the early 20th century. Rilke wrote, "Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer." End quote. Tippett goes on to explore in her podcast how our lives, both individually and communally, are full of challenges and questions that have no easy answers. and answers that may not appear in our lifetimes. She says she, quote, finds a question to be a mighty form of words. And she has learned a few things about questions. She has learned that questions elicit answers in their likeness. The answers rise or fall to the questions they meet. It's very hard to respond to a combative question with anything but a combative answer. It's almost impossible to transcend a simplistic question with anything but a simplistic answer. But the opposite is also true. It's hard to resist a generous question. End quote. So I've been pondering Ms. Tippett's words. What might be a question, a generous question, a guiding question for the coming year? And I invite you to ponder what might be a generous guiding question for you. Ms. Tippett says, I also have taken living the questions as a practical life exercise, a spiritual discipline, and I commend that to you, she says. Formulate a question that is rolling around in your life or in that boundary between what is personal and what is public or civilizational, and write it down. Hone it and make a commitment to it. Commit to having it on your shoulder, in your ear, as you move through your life. See what it invites you to see and to move towards and to move away from. So I invite you to play with this idea a bit. What might your question be? And if you'll ponder, I'll ponder too, and maybe we can share our questions with each other. As we consider all these ways to mark the new year, and in preparation for our New Year ritual, I close with this quote from Friedrich Buechner, a noted theologian. I find his words deeply meaningful, and I hope that you will too. Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery that it is. In the boredom and pain of it, no less than the excitement and gladness. Touch and taste and smell your way into the holy and hidden heart of it, because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments, and life itself is grace. May we, each of us, use all of our senses and all of our resources to find our way in the coming year. And as we sang together earlier in our meditation hymn, may we return to ourselves where we belong, coming home, like a bird to its nest, a river to the ocean, coming home. If you are willing, I invite you now to join in a special ritual that is part of our crossing the threshold together. You will be invited to come forward as you wish, and in addition to placing a glass stone in our bowl, symbolizing your joys and sorrows, you're invited to place the piece of paper that you received earlier in the service with your words or drawing into this larger bowl. What you are symbolically letting go of will dissolve into the water and be released. And then you are invited to welcome whatever dream or question you have for yourself in the coming year by choosing one of these small yellow stars to take home with you, to remind you of your question or your intention for the coming year. Everyone is welcome to participate, and those online are invited to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. Let us begin. And now a blessing for us all. Whatever it was that you symbolically let go of today to be held and released by the water, be they regrets or hurts or disappointments or fears, may your heart feel a bit lighter. May your burdens be a bit less, and may there be room for more joy and peace and ease. Let this sacred water receive, hold, and wash away that which we have outgrown and is no longer serving us. And may these little stars go with us in our coming journeys and serve as a reminder to come up with a question we want to ask ourselves this year, and to keep asking questions that lead us to growth, to new understandings, and to a deeper sense of purpose, meaning, and to our truest selves. Amen, and blessed be. As Angela extinguishes the flame of our chalice, I offer these closing words from Lois Van Leer. We extinguish this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention. Go in peace and in love. Amen, and blessed be.
Great job.